You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, February 13th show. I am here to help you build a strong financial blueprint, one show at a time. And if you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with the guests that I have in studio or any questions that you have for me, please feel free to call into the show. 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, I have Keoki McCarthy. He's acting broker of Rural Living Northwest Real Estate. And Keoki, thanks so much for coming in and joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Not president of Rural Living Northwest.
No, I've been demoted.
So I want to ask you, Valentine's Day, are you going to do something special for Stephanie?
That's a good question.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
You are. I'm going to say that yes, but I can't tell you.
Okay. Secret.
It's a secret.
Well, the conversation I'm going to have with Keoki today, we're going to be talking about real estate, obviously. We're going to talk about realtors out there in their business and some things that they can be doing to have a thriving real estate practice. And also, we've got something, I want to talk a little bit about sellers, but I want to give my listeners a little background of who you are, Keoki. And again, he is acting broker of Real Estate Northwest Realtors. Stephanie, his wife, is the president. Keoki is a father of two girls, married to a wonderful wife, Stephanie, which I just mentioned, lives in the greater Seattle area, owns a real estate broker. He's a tech geek. I mean, he's really a tech geek, always trying new things. Blogger wannabe, brother, son, and heck, golfer. Keoki is, again, acting broker of Real Living Northwest. He's been in the real estate industry for 15 years and designated broker for 10 years. He is the chair of the Northwest Multiple Listing Service Disciplinary Panel, director of Washington Association of Realtors, and has been recognized as Brookfield Global Relocation Award winner. And this is just one out of the U.S. And again, Keoki, is always a pleasure to have you sit across from me. And I want to start out for the sellers that we have out there listening right now. You've got a really cool option for sellers that are trying to sell their home. So can you share that with the all my seller listeners?
Absolutely. We have two things that we've realized could be a huge benefit to a seller. The first one is a program that allows a seller that doesn't know where they're moving to sell their home and then look for a home. Because what's happening, if you think about it, is the market's crazy, right? You've got all these people trying to buy the one house or the two houses. So if you're a seller, you're worried, okay, well, let's say I sell my house. Now what? I can't find a house to move into. So what we did is we picked up some investors. Okay. And we have the ability, these investors are looking for rental homes. And it made me realize, well, we're looking for rental homes and you want to sell your home, but you don't know where you want to move. So we'll come in and we'll buy the house right there for you. And then you can look at your heart's content. You pay market rent back to the investor. And it's a win-win for everybody. The investor gets a house. And I'm not talking about coming in and getting a deal. I mean, I'm talking about the investor
the fair market price.
Yeah, paying fair market value, letting you stay in the house. And if it takes a year or 2 years, it doesn't matter because this investor didn't buy the house because they want to live in it.
Yep.
They bought the house because they just want a rental property. And if you're willing to pay the rent.
You know, I should have added on your buyer is problem solver. Because if you can get this out there, this is our biggest issue. And we've talked a lot about it on the show with the lack of inventory. And so if you're a seller out there and you're not moving and this is what's happening, you want to move, you want to take advantage of these awesome interest rates. You want to move up, get your family into a better school zone area, whatever that is. But just as Keoki said, you're afraid of being able to find another home. So what an amazing opportunity to be able to sell your house for market price, get a great deal because you can now as a seller get a great deal on your home, and then hang out for as long as it takes. Now, what happens when people are forced and they do need to sell is they're actually taking less money possibly to be able to sell their home so that they can move on instead of, being able to maximize this opportunity. So that is brilliant, Keoki. So how could one of my sellers get a hold of you, and what do they do to actually get more information about getting set up for this program?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way to find me is Keoki, Keoki.rlnorthwest.com, RL for real living. So Keoki.rlnorthwest.com. And I have a whole information section on my website that talks about this program. But I
got to ask, are they going to talk with you or talk with Stephanie?
Yeah, well, probably most
ask
people.
For Stephanie.
Most people would.
She's a lot nicer than Keoki.
She is. There's no doubt. She's the face of the company, and I'm the guy in the back that just does the details.
Yeah, I didn't know that we were on camera. Otherwise, I would have actually made Stephanie come here because she is the face of the company.
Yes,
you are definitely the voice of the company.
Well, I like to have some front time, so she let me take this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a simple solution, and I just wanted to throw that out there before we talked about maybe how real estate agents can.
So let's talk about that. Let's transition over. I have a huge podcast of listeners in the real estate community, and we have all the experts that come in and share their advice for buyers and sellers. And I thought it would be great as the designated broker of the company for us to talk about how can we help our real estate brokers out there to be more successful in their business, because that's really what it's about. And this show is about making money so that you can have a better life for you and for your family. And being more successful in your career, that's the start of it. So you talk about establishing your identity and your why and your story. Can you explain what you mean about that and why that's so important for a real estate broker?
Yeah, if you're a real estate agent, broker, and you're trying to get your name out there, you're trying to build your business, you're trying to become successful. If you haven't started at the number one thing, everything you do from then on is not going to be done properly. And what that is you've got to be able to share your story of why and who you are as a realtor. You need to explain what you believe in, what you stand for, and why someone is compelled to work with you. And it's different for everybody. And if you think about it, as a buyer or a seller, there are literally endless choices of agents out there.
Yes.
Buyers and sellers, they are inundated with the same boring messages. Hire me, I'll help you sell your house. And if you're basically doing those same messages, you are not sticking out. Along with your must-dos, you need to remember to personalize it. It has to be about you truly. And there are many great exercises. Actually, one of the cool things, because this is coming out, we actually have a class that we're doing.
Oh, that's right.
That would be a great way for a realtor to do this. And effectively,
I'll be there.
Yeah, you will be there. And it would be a great class for someone to come. And what it is it's developing what we call a power pitch. A friend of mine, Chris Bartell, has been in the branding industry for about 20 years, and he just developed this program for realtors to be able to brand themselves. And so you come to this class, and by the end of the class, you will have why someone should work with you. You'll have a whole elevator pitch. Actually, he calls it a power pitch because an elevator pitch is old school.
Yes.
And so keepitrealnw.com is my website for agents to go to. So if you wanted more information on that class, go there.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day. And as Keoki said, I mean, you want to stay away from the 3 Ps: price, product, and processes. Processes meaning service, and focus on your why and what makes you unique in how you're going to be able to help your buyers, sellers, or your referral partners. So Keoki, let's go ahead and move on to the importance of designing a follow-up plan, because the biggest thing that people drop the ball in any industry, and especially in sales, is the follow-up. So let's talk about that.
So Tina, according to NAR, the National Association of Realtors, 25% of people end up using the same agent they used before. only 25%.
It's just crazy.
And it is crazy. And if you look at the average client satisfaction, it's not that only 25% of clients are happy at the end of a transaction. It's that the one simple rule of sales is follow-up, and we don't. As an industry, we're terrible at it. And you've got to develop a client follow-up system that has at least 7 years of touches, of content, of whether it's telling you to make a phone call or a visit, or do you have events for your clients, whatever it is that gets you in front of your client over the next 7 years. And the thing is, you can't just create it on the fly per customer. You've got to design the system.
Yes.
You're the queen of one-timing. You need to one-time this system. You need to create a follow-up system and then hit play at the end of a transaction and have that transaction go all the way through until they're ready to do another transaction.
I say, why go out and chase new business? Work with the business that you've already established and that you've worked so hard to get, and just take care of them. And the biggest thing right now, I love technology because nobody's taking advantage of the personal touch. Pick up the phone. Nobody else is doing it.
Right.
So it's just have all that other stuff, the automated emails and all that cool stuff and the social media stuff, but don't forget to pick up the phone. So let's talk about suggestions that you have on about a buyer and seller presentation.
Yeah, so that's another one. I'll tell you, I'm shocked at how many agents, when the phone rings and someone says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home, the agent goes into a panic. Okay, I've got to create something to go meet with the seller and convince them to use me.
Yeah.
And it's too late. If you've received the phone call, you are so far behind at that point. You've got to have a plan in place, again, of how you give a presentation, and you've got to practice that presentation.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ways you can do presentations these days. Are you going to, I know in my company we have a paperless system. So the presentation is delivered ahead of time to the to the client. They know what you're going to talk about when you get there. You go through that presentation. You can either do you could give them an iPad. I mean, there's so many ways. You can still do old school print paper. I mean, people still like to touch and feel, but you've got to plan ahead.
You got to embrace your uniqueness in the way you present.
Yes.
Yeah. And asking specific questions on exactly, because everybody has or you're going to put them into the presentation, adjust the presentation based on what their needs are. So really finding out what's important to them. And I always say at the end of a presentation, it's always time to sell your unique proposition. And that's, again, your why and really your close, and leaving with a call to action. Keoki, last before I've got to wrap up our show here, once a real estate broker has a listing, how do they manage and advertise that listing to make sure that they have the best success for their seller?
Right. Now you've got the listing. You have two main goals. The first is to get that listing in front of as many eyes as possible. You've got to show it in the best light. You better have had professional photos and all of that to get it out there. But secondly, you need to show your seller, because your seller sometimes doesn't see what's happening behind the scenes. And there are so many ways. So I know in my company, what we do is we have a seller insight report where everything we do, all the marketing material, all the phone calls we take, everything we do gets added to this website, and the seller can see it at any given point. And that is so important, because if your house doesn't sell right away, your seller's going to want to know what you're doing, and you better be able to prove to them that you're taking care of them.
Makes total sense. Keoki, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Absolutely.
I would have liked to see your lovely bride as well, but with those two special cherubs that she calls them, she couldn't come in.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, next time. Keoki, thank you so much.
You bet.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, so we're going to wrap up the show. I actually have another guest. It's been such a great day already. We're going to talk more about real estate for buyers and sellers that are out there. I have Don Harcourt with John L. Scott Ording coming up next, right after this break on 1150 AM KKNW.